Hey everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to another edition of The Daily here with Simon Borg. I'm Nick Fershaw. We're going to start off with some international action gearing up to that US-Canada match on Tuesday down in Houston. The Canadians actually in action on Saturday against Denmark. It didn't go their way, really one-sided in this one. The Danes with a 4-0 win. Kyle Becker and some other young guys debuted for Canada, got into this game, but what can the Canadian fans take from this game?
There's no silver lining. Kyle Becker is a nice story, but right now they're mopping the floors in the U.S. national team's team hotel. Why? Because Chris Wondolowski and Will Bruin just salivating all over the place at what awaits them against Canada on Tuesday. Because we saw the defending was absolutely atrocious, and it involved a few MLS players. Dejan Jakovic was in that back line, Nana Adekora, they were in the middle, Daniel Henry and Ashton Morgan, but guys were running by them. There was this forward, Cornelius from Denmark. They made him look like luscious Cornelius, a Roman dictator.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy was wreaking havoc. Why? Because no one was tracking him. They were losing their markers. And look, part of it is that the midfield, I don't think, was helping. So they were just threading balls like it was no one's business. So ugly, ugly display by Canada.
So you mentioned Chris Wondolowski and Will Bruin, two guys expected to play some minutes certainly on Tuesday night. You got Eddie Johnson and some other guys, Juan Agudelo there as well. Who are you looking forward to seeing on Tuesday night when the U.S. take on Canada?
Because of what we saw Canada do against Denmark, I think it's Chris Wondolowski. He has a big opportunity here to have a big game and really put his stamp. I think people still take him for granted. He is the Golden Boot leader, hasn't made his mark yet on the U.S. team. Look for him and Will Bruin. I think you got to look at the two forwards, although people want those defenders to show up because right now there's an injury crisis on the back line.
Got to say also, Jurgen Klinsmann had some strong words of praise for Brad Davis lately when you read some of those reports out of camp. So a lot of MLSers in that camp. We'll see what they can put together on Tuesday night. One other bit of international news. Congratulations to Costa Rica, the winners of the Central Americana Cup. They knocked out Honduras over the weekend. 7 MLSers involved when Honduras and Costa Rica go at it. You can catch that story on MLSsoccer.com. Next up, some news for Chivas USA. We know all about Chelís and all the moves he's made during the offseason to bring in some more Mexican-American talent. But look, he's sticking by Dan Kennedy. That's what we're hearing out of LA anyway. In fact, he's made Dan Kennedy one of the best goalkeepers in the league, the captain for the Goats in 2013.
Look, Nick, Chelís is no dummy. A lot of people are saying, what are these trades they're doing? They're just offloading talent. They don't know what they're doing at Chivas USA. Wrong. He definitely knows. And if you believe reports, Dan Kennedy was set to be shipped out last week. Now, the friendly they played over the weekend, they won 4-1 against the college team. Dan Kennedy didn't show up in that game. He was on the bench. Now, Chelís says he would have played him if it was a real game, but he's named him captain. He knows Dan Kennedy is his prized asset right now to get some major value. I think this is maybe part of the game Chelís is playing before shipping out maybe Dan Kennedy in the future. Again, we have no information, but if you believe reports, he was on the block last week.
A lot of guys trialing for Chivas USA as well. You can catch those names on MLSsoccer.com. Some familiar, some not. One of the guys, Josue Soto, a guy that was one of the homegrown guys for the Houston Dynamo. You can catch that list on MLSsoccer.com. Last but not least, news surrounding David Beckham. You remember when he left MLS last fall? He said he was always going to be an advocate for the league, maybe go back to Europe and encourage some players to come across the pond. It appears that he's doing that. There are reports saying that he's been talking to guys like Steven Gerrard and Peter Crouch, among others. These guys coming to MLS at some point in their careers.
Some of the other names, Michael Carrick, Ashley Cole, and then there were a couple other names brought into the mix. Jermaine Pennant says he wants to come to MLS, and Luis Saha, apparently there were overtures from MLS teams. You give me one name of them all, I want Ashley Cole. To find a world-class left back in this day and age is really, really tough. So he's the most prized value. Luis Saha right underneath him. For me, hasn't really done much in the Premier League of late, but I think he's a forward who could do some damage in MLS.
I'm sure we'll talk about that and a whole lot more on the latest edition of Extra Time Radio. The podcast comes out on Monday. We're expecting to be joined by Mike Petke, the brand new head coach of the New York Red Bulls. He's been on the show before, one of the best guests we've ever had. You can catch that on iTunes, Buzzsprout, and Stitcher Radio. That does it for us. We'll see you back on The Daily tomorrow.